Yeah. Yeah. Mm-hmm.
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 Hello, everyone, and welcome to the show. I'm Blair.
And I'm Kirsten, and we are mediocre
Mediocre
content.
content.
And even though you can't see her, we're also joined by Puma for some reason.
Yep, she has made an appearance. She is on the desk.
I expected her to circle the chair at least 3 more times before deciding she could make a very small jump.
She's being very decisive this morning.
She
and
is.
we appreciate that about her.
We sure do. What I don't appreciate is her spittle all over this microphone.
She said, "Mom, let me record."
She usually has so much to say too. Now she's just like deadpanning into the corner like, oh, there she goes. Okay. She was just she got distracted by the nothingness in the hallway.
Yes. Yes.
Whatever you see, you don't. Okay. I don't need to know that.
Mm-hmm. That's right.
Got the spookies in here. Also, we're joined by your mushroom plushie, which is very
We
fun.
are. Yep. I forget what its name is.
Oh. Did you rip the tag off?
Yeah, I ripped the tag off.
Blair.
What?
Does it say it on his butt, actually? Sometimes
Maybe,
it says
see.
it on the butt.
Hold on.
Don't touch the butt. Oh my god, whoa. She grabbed the butt for everyone who's listening.
There's no name on the... But
man.
like, first of all, why would you keep the tag on a stuffed animal?
Okay, as a stuffed animal connoisseur, I don't know if you've ever looked by. I know. I don't know if you've noticed. We're all aware.
Oh my god, the look that Puma just gave.
Excuse you.
It was just like, someone help me.
She knows what I'm about.
Blink twice if you need help.
She is fine. I'm going through it. Do you see the plushes behind me? Every single one of them that hasn't been chewed by a cat has a tag still attached.
Okay.
It's like in high school when your brother wouldn't let you take off the stupid size sticker on his hat. At least,
oh yeah,
Chris, I'm calling you out. I'm so sorry. They were so
that,
dumb,
like,
and I really wanted to rip them off.
That, like, holographic one that they put on the brim, where you because you got it at Lids. In the mall.
Right. Sorry to all the brothers that experienced that.
Brother.
Hello, brother. Is that still a thing? Are people still doing that?
I
Hopefully
don't know,
not.
but it's super weird.
It is weird.
But it's also funny.
Anyway, I guess we'll, I don't know. You want to get started?
It's going to be a weird day, you guys.
Do you want to dive in? I can do that. I can say that.
Just dive in, let the good times roll. Nothing feels better than letting go. Let's dive in. Dun, dun, dun. What song? Somebody comment what song that is, because I think it's Vanessa Hudgens from like her Disney days, but I can't remember.
Yeah, me. I've never heard that song in my life.
Yeah, it's a deep cut. The girlies will know.
I believe you.
All right, so we're gonna disclaim. Based on that intro, you guys know that we're wildin' today, so don't take anything we say with any kind of merit at all. But we're gonna try and provide you with some solid facts and information about swimming pools today. But we are, if you don't like swimming pools, I'm sorry. But we're gonna try and have a good discussion about that, a very educational discussion.
Sure.
But just take it with a grain of salt, do your research, etc. Love you.
Love you. Mwah, 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 mwah. My water tastes like soap.
Oh no.
It's so sad. My water tastes like a swimming pool, I guess. Anyway, that's not good news, but I do have good news if we want it.
Lovely transition.
Thank you.
Claps. Very nice.
Okay, so we got two pieces of good news this week. The first one is more of like a feel-good kind of thing, and I thought it was a very interesting idea because I'd never heard of it before in terms of like people actually doing it. So anyway, I named this one the epitome of try before you buy. A new retail phenomenon is addressing concerned consumers, I don't know how many there are, who are looking to escape spending for waste creation by developing a concept called libraries of things, which I have heard of before, but not in this context. In this particular context, people can come and rent pretty much anything, and that includes baby clothes, air fryers, tools, you name it, they have it. There are currently over 2,000, what they're calling LOTs, Library of Things, located in the English-speaking world and Central Europe, and some have been in operation since 1976, which I was not aware of either. Half of them, though, only sprang up in the last 5 years. E-waste or tossing of electronic items without repairing them has apparently become a really big challenge for landfills and other recycling companies, and the fast fashion industry as well, which I think we've actually had a podcast on because we did one on thrift shopping once, is also causing a bit of an issue because now you have single-use garments and textiles that are piling up as well. If you find yourself frustrated with these kinds of throwaway items and the fast fashion culture, you can check out one of these LOTs near you, and essentially there's different regulations and systems to these, but you set up an account and you pay a basic rental fee for each day or month that you're checking out whatever items that you want. Of course, depending on seasonality, if you're planning on using gardening tools, they might be a little more costly if you're renting them in the spring and summer because that's when everybody else would be doing that. And then, of course, availability because it's a rental system. So if somebody rents out the only pitchfork they have, then you're kind of out of luck. But anyway, the list of product classes that seem to lend themselves to this sort of rental model is significantly extensive. And pretty much, like I said, it's sporting goods, it's camping equipment, tools, accessories. And I think it's a really cool concept and one that I haven't explored, but makes a lot of sense. And I feel like if maybe you're living in an apartment and you want to do a little bit of reno, or you don't have a specific tool to maybe hang a photo and you don't want to go out and buy a drill, whatever. You go to one of these LOTs and you're like, hey, I want to rent this for a couple of days so I can put up some paintings. And they're like, cool. And you check it out, rent it, get up your paintings, and then you return it, and you don't have to spend an exuberant amount of money on a drill because drills are really expensive.
Yeah.
And also, if you only use it once and it sits in your drawer for the rest of your life and then you throw it away when you're old, it kind of sucks. And then the tool goes to waste. So,
I've also heard, and by heard, I mean, saw on TikTok that depending on how robust your library is in your area, you can also rent like appliances and tools from them with your library card.
Yeah, which is super great. So maybe check one out if you're in a situation where you might need something. There's probably one near you. Or if not, maybe start one up. Okay, and that's the first part of good news. The second part of our good news is naturally space related, and I named this one, it's a Pisces thing. Sorry for all the Pisces, it's just what was discovered.
Chris
anyway.
Is a Pisces.
Well, there you go. Chris, this is a you thing.
Yeah.
Scientists have discovered a new Earth-sized planet 40 light years away that could potentially support human life. My question to all of you is, why would we need to find that? Anyway, what do they know? I'm just kidding. The planet named Gliese? Gliese? I don't know. 12b was spotted by astronomers at the University of Warwick, that's how I have to say it, who made the exciting discovery using NASA satellites. With an estimated surface temperature of around 42 degrees Celsius or 107 degrees Fahrenheit, which seems a little hot for human life, experts say it is one of the few known rocky planets where humans could theoretically survive if the transportation existed, which it doesn't.
All I'm saying is people live in Arizona, and it's 107 degrees in Arizona. I'm pretty sure year round.
That's like our baseline. We're like, well, It's pretty Arizona-y, so we'd be fine.
Yeah.
Scientists are still unsure of the composition of the atmosphere there, but it does have a similar depth to the one on Venus. And if you listened to our Venus episode, then you're already pretty aware that Venus is essentially Earth's twin, which is why they base a lot of this information on that. In a report published the Thursday this article was published, the team from universities in the UK and the United States described this planet as, quote, the nearest transiting temperate Earth-sized planet found to date, end quote. It was confirmed.
Very specific.
It is very specific. They have to be, I guess, because people are like, let's go.
That's true.
It confirmed the planet's existence and characteristics like its size, temperature, distance from Earth, and that it orbits its sun every 12.8 days. And the scientists are part of an international team who have worked with NASA to discover the planet using data from NASA's TESS, which I believe we also talked about, but that is Transiting Exoplanet Survey Satellite. I think we talked about that in, I forget which episode, but it doesn't matter. And at first, they discovered the planet's sun called Gliese 12, which was a cool red dwarf located in the constellation Pisces, which is why all of this is a Pisces thing.
I see it now.
Indeed. The star is about 1/4 of our sun's size, with about 60% of the surface temperature, and the distance separating Gliese 12 and the new planet is just 7% of the distance between Earth and our sun, which explains the heat. The planet receives 1.6 times more energy from its star as Earth does from the sun, again, further explaining the surface area heat. NASA did, in a statement, say, and all of this is a quote, so it's a long one, so strap in. One important factor in retaining an atmosphere is the storminess of its star. Red dwarfs tend to be magnetically active, resulting in frequent, powerful X-ray flares. This is a unique candidate for further atmospheric study that may help unlock some aspects of our own solar system's evolution. Earth remains habitable, but Venus does not due to its complete loss of water. Gliese 12b's atmosphere could teach us a lot about the habitability pathways planets take as they develop, and Gliese 12b also represents one of the best targets to study whether Earth-like planets orbiting cool stars can retain their atmospheres, which is a crucial step to advance our understanding of habitability on Earth and across the galaxy.
Beautiful.
Yeah. So a lot of research still needs to be done. Obviously, we're not headed there tomorrow or anytime necessarily, but it is interesting to find something that's similar, slightly different, has the characteristics, here or there, but isn't completely destroyed in terms of like looking at Venus and you're like, you're our twin and there's nobody living there. So it's just interesting.
Yeah.
Anyway, that's all the good news I have. And now you can cool off in the pool with Blair. How fun is that?
Yes. So exciting. So, just to give you guys a little bit of an itinerary of what's happening, the first third of the podcast is going to be a little bit of the history behind swimming pools and like how our country has like developed and how swimming pools have developed alongside that.
Mm-hmm.
And then the second third is going to be about rich people using too much water for their pools.
Okay.
It was a cool article on NPR. I thought it would be worth mentioning.
We are now in our NPR days.
And then in the second half, it's going to be about swimming suits for women through the ages. And I included pictures for you, Kirsten, because I knew you would want to know.
I would.
Sorry, guys. We'll link the article that has all the pictures, obviously.
Yeah.
But like, this is just for Kirsten. I'm sorry.
I'm so well taken care of here.
I like her the best. I don't know what to tell you.
I mean, I feel bad now that I didn't supply you the wrestling photos.
Yeah.
We'll have to dive into that later.
Yeah, if you haven't listened to our most like unhinged and like unknowledgeable podcast that we've ever done.
It was fun.
It was fun. Also, I have a follow-up. So
yeah.
What is that guy's name?
Oh, sorry. There's like 20.
It's not The Undertaker. It's Chris, what is that guy's name that has the Instagram account?
Is it the Dead Man guy?
Stone Cold Steve Austin.
Oh, yes. Yeah. Okay,
the wrestler.
yes. He's very chilly, yes.
Has an Instagram account
Yes.
where he's retired, obviously.
Yeah, right.
And he just does like farming content and shows off his cats with like rage rock and roll music as the background. And it's literally the best thing ever. So check that out because we didn't mention it in our wrestling podcast and I feel like it needs to be mentioned.
That's absolutely fair. They have the best names in that podcast. Like you never know really what their name is, but it's pretty dope.
The Undertaker, which honestly I think is like the best name.
It reminds me of Grave Digger.
Right.
You know?
No, exactly.
Yeah.
It's like I will put you to your death.
Absolutely.
Like, there is like I will dig your grave for you. And
no
that
cap.
is where you will be placed. Yeah.
Yeah.
So anyway, back to swimming pools.
Right.
So in this first article, this National Geographic photographer just took it upon himself to visit a bunch of different municipal pools around the United States. And he also like talks about some of the history, which is what we're going to talk about now. So obviously public swimming pools are a big part of a lot of people's summer. We know this because it gets hot.
Indeed.
Whether you're a local visitor or whether you're a local or a visitor, a plunge into one of the country's thousands of municipal watering holes offers a chance to cool off and find common ground with strangers, an increasingly rare opportunity in a polarized country.
Watering holes.
So a lot of countries have like bathing rituals, and that's like initially what the swimming pool idea started out as, because people didn't have indoor plumbing, right? So the Japanese have like hot spring rituals. Turkish hammams are really popular as like a bathhouse type thing. America's public pools began with a civic push towards good hygiene and better physical health. Between the 1890s and the 1940s, no indoor plumbing. Both indoor and outdoor natatoriums, which is a fancy word for swimming pool.
Oh, so fancy.
Sprung up around the country. Neighbors played, chatted, and flirted with one another, but they also fought about who should and should not be allowed to be in the swimming pool.
Jinkies.
Okay. Yeah. And I don't know if you know this about America, for those of you who are not Americans, we are nothing if not controversial and trying to like tell people what they should and shouldn't be doing. Okay.
Especially in a swimsuit for that matter.
That's what I'm saying. So initially, social classes, races, and even the sexes mixed at some facilities. I know when in the early days when they were mostly just for like bathing, it was specifically like men and women.
Right.
You know, they had their own like separate, because at that time women couldn't show their ankles and it was you know, sexual. So anyway, but by the mid 1950s, pools were public in name only. Municipalities across the United States segregated swimming facilities along with buses, movie theaters, and other shared spaces. Protests and civil rights legislation gradually forced their integration, but communities fought to exclude people of color.
Which is so dumb.
It's so dumb. It's not a part of history that we're super proud of over here.
Yeah.
And it's a shame because it really like impacted the amount of public pools that were able to be funded, the amount of spaces that people were allowed to have outside of their home. So continuing, when St. Louis, Missouri desegregated its fairgrounds pool in 1949, about 30 Black children showed up to swim, only to be forced out by thousands of white protesters.
They just want to swim.
I know.
It's probably hot as crap in Missouri.
Other facilities admitted people of color just once a week, usually the day the pool was drained.
Of course.
Which is awful. And refilled for the white swimmers who showed up the rest of the week.
So dumb.
When the 1964 Civil Rights Act definitively outlawed segregation in the public places, many, quote, white people, so rude, began abandoning municipal pools for private swim clubs and backyard pools. And I think this is probably one of the origins of like the country club.
Yeah.
Urban tax revenues shrank, city pools grew dilapidated, and many closed. Ironically, the people for whom the public pools were originally created, the poor and working class families, often found themselves living far from a spot to take a dip.
Which is unfortunate for everybody because who doesn't want to just have a dip in the pool?
Right.
Yeah.
And this is again like what I'm saying, where, you know, half of the population of the area, depending
Yeah.
on where you live, don't want to go to the pool because they're stupid. Um, then that takes away
Mm-hmm.
from the funding that your
Mm-hmm.
state has for
Mm-hmm.
the pool for everyone. Why can't we all just get along and have nice third spaces to go to?
Indeed.
That's all I'm saying. Like, you
Yep.
shouldn't have to spend money to have a nice time in your community. That's all I'm
A,
saying.
a third space that I miss very much is the skate facilities, like
Yeah.
skate nights. I genuinely
Yeah.
miss those so much.
I know. And like parks, I feel like there's not enough good quality
Yeah.
parks,
Like
you
good
know?
parks. Yeah.
Yeah.
I agree.
Anyway, today there are more than 300,000 municipal pools in the United States, open to anyone with a government ID, a few bucks, and a towel. And I looked up a lot of the places that they mentioned here, which we'll get to in a second. But a lot of the pools, like for less than 10 bucks, you
Yeah.
can get in. And then they have like a little snack bar or something where you can get food. And all of that money goes back into your community because you're
Mm-hmm.
funding the parks and recreation in your area. So,
Yeah.
like, really, you're spending your money in a way that benefits you ultimately.
There was one that
Um,
I don't know if it was like a neighborhood pool or not, but there was
mhm.
one that we went to as a kid and like, keep me honest here, any other family that listens to this, but I'm pretty sure there was like an ice cream man that would come by and like you could go
Oh,
get ice
nice.
cream when it was adult swim only. And it
Yeah.
was like really nice.
Yeah, we did. We actually went to the Chip Oaks pool, which is in a
Ah,
state park in Virginia.
Fancy.
And they, it was like, what are you
Jinx
doing?
has joined the chat.
Um, it was like, I don't know, less than $10
Mm-hmm.
for each of us to get in. And then they had like a little snacks and, they had a big diving board and we could like run around and be crazy. It was great.
So fun. Don't run at the pool though.
Yeah, no running. The lifeguards will
No
yell at
run.
you.
Blair is a previous lifeguard, says
I
no
am.
running.
Um, okay, so if you want to get a feel for the place's character, culture, and history, visit a public pool. Some are restored early 20th century marvels, like the Northern California's circa 1926 Richmond Plunge. Others are surrounded by nature, like the one in Orlando, Florida, called the Turkey Lake Pool. Or there's one that's surrounded by dazzling architecture, which is the Astoria Pool in Queens, New York, which is really cool. I actually looked that one up because I was curious to see like
Yeah.
what it looked like. It's beautiful. And
Nice.
you have like the background of all the big buildings in Manhattan, and it's like very giant. It's undergoing construction right now because it's very old.
Yes, that would make
But I
sense.
think they're going to open it up for this season, but
So fun.
it was under construction last season. So anyway, some are inclusive, cold, refreshing versions of a melting pot, like the Philadelphia's Ridgeway Pool or Barton Springs in Austin, Texas. Also, another cool one. Barton Springs in Austin, Texas is
Hmm.
cool. At the latter, both are chilly, spring-fed water, and the blend of bathers, 9 to 5ers, free spirits, Latinx teens, University of Texas sorority members. Um, and they all seemed delightfully diverse. In 2021, the 2021 movie version of uh, Lin-Manuel Miranda's musical In the Heights featured a joyous scene with 90 dancers hip hopping and belly flopping at the High Bridge Pool in New York City.
Belly flops hurt so much.
I know. Other pools reflect Americans' continuing struggles to mix with people who don't look or talk or live exactly as they do. At Washington, D.C.'s Banneker Pool, established for Black residents in 1934, the writer says he saw all ages and skin tones, but there was very little mingling happening.
Mm.
Nonetheless, public pools remain a vital sanctuary for those who didn't live in gated communities or belong to private swim clubs or country clubs. Um, Yeah, and he has a quote from one of his the from the Banneker's pools manager,
Mm.
Alex McCall, and he says, coming here kept me off the streets, and I'm going to love this pool until the day I die. So it's important to have these facilities for people.
I think it's also important, like when we're thinking about like the children of our generation, it's very important to have like outlets, social activities, extracurriculars. Not that you
Mm-hmm.
overwhelm the child with things to do after they've had a very busy day at school, but it's like so vital that they have those connections and those third spaces to really involve themselves in the community and get their social pieces to their
Right,
development. And like to lose those loses that. And
right.
you eliminate an opportunity for a child to feel included in their community and
Exactly.
confident when they grow up with that with the
Mm-hmm.
social skills.
I agree. And then
Yeah.
also to like, this is my lifeguard soapbox. It's so important for people to learn how to swim. I don't care how old you
Yes.
are, if you live near a body of water, I don't care where you live.
Yeah.
Honestly, just learn how to swim.
Yeah.
It's not hard. The New York City Parks Department offers free swimming lessons for people of
Nice.
all ages throughout the summer. Um so it's so important. Teach your
It's a
kids
good
how to
skill.
swim.
Yeah.
I've taught an adult swim class before and everyone did a great job. It's just like having fun, learning. I know people are afraid of water. You know,
Yeah.
it's going to be okay. It's going to
Yeah.
be all right.
And they start you off in the shallow end.
It's right. It's right. So, yeah, everybody learn how to swim. And having a public pool
Mm-hmm.
increases the people in your area's ability to learn how to swim.
Exactly.
So, anyway, all right. So this is our second uh third of the this is our second article. Uh
Okay.
are rich people using too much water?
Love that.
Swimming pools, flower gardens, indoor fountains, all the urbanites who can afford them are big factors behind the increasing desire increasing dire water crisis. There we go.
I believe in you.
Plaguing cities and international research team. It doesn't help that Jinx's tail was in the way.
It does
Okay.
not.
So, quote, there are certain individuals with the power to decide how to manage water who also use more water, said lead researcher Elisa Savelli at the Uppsala University in Sweden. Even with something as simple as water, it's unjust. Some social groups have access to too much, and some social groups have too little. Wealthy residents use 12 times more water than those with lower incomes. Study found that more than 80 metropolitan areas around the world have faced severe shortages in the last 2 decades, a figure that only is projected to rise, impacting more than 1 billion people in the next few decades. And the threat doesn't discriminate between hemispheres or climates. Moscow, Miami, and Melbourne, Australia, were among the most impacted in the last decade. For the
Mm-hmm.
purposes of the study, researchers zeroed in on just one location, Cape Town, South Africa. And this is an interesting area because after South Africa's apartheid ended, Cape Town is still like very segregated between
Mm.
people who have like a large amount of money and people who don't.
Mm.
Um, the city also experienced a major drought from 2015 to 2017, a crisis so severe that the city narrowly averted day zero when it believed water sources would dry up entirely.
Ugh, that's
So,
rough.
in the same time period, Cape Town's elite households consumed roughly 571 gallons of water daily, compared with 47 gallons for households with lower income brackets. Which is what the researchers found. Despite only representing about 14% of the population, the wealthiest residents used more than half of the water consumed by the entire city.
Wow.
And most of the water used by those privileged social groups went for non essential needs such as irrigation, swimming pools, and water fixtures. Other social groups used the most water for basic functions like drinking or bathing.
Hmm.
Even though we used Cape Town as a case study, the analysis can be applied to every other city in the world that's facing water shortages or that might face them in the future, Savelli told NPR. Quote, I won't say the results will be exactly the same, but I believe that any city in the US, Canada, or Australia would have inequality. It might manifest in different ways, but it's still there, and it's just as critical as population growth or climate change, she said. Other notable limitation of the study is its scope. Domestic water consumption accounts for just a fraction of overall public water use. In the US, two major industries, thermoelectric power production and manufacturing, account for 2/3 of public water supply usage. Agriculture accounts for about 40% of America's total freshwater withdrawals. But Savali hopes that the study will spark much needed change in the way policymakers rethink urban policy. Effective policy might involve trade-offs and targeted measures. In the face of drought, cities often seek to implement progressive pricing models or infrastructure updates, bureaucratic measures that often just perpetuate the same uneven and unsustainable water patterns that lead to crisis in the first place. During Cape Town's severe drought, wealthy residents turned to private water sources like boreholes and rainwater harvesting systems, the study says. Low-income residents faced high water costs, sometimes went without enough water to meet basic demands for activities like cooking and laundry. In other words, the drought made the wealthy more water secure and better equipped to face future droughts, even though they were consuming an unsustainable amount of water in the first place. Savali says policymakers should think in terms of targeted solutions and trade-offs. So, she's quoted as saying, before building an additional dam, cities should look at individual consumption first, not just the citywide average, she says. Maybe you should have a swimming pool, but you don't keep the water in all the time, or the government could tax you for water usage as it deems excessive. It's hard to imagine solutions like fines and restrictions for being immediately effective in places like the US. Take, for example, Los Angeles, a city with an infamous lack of groundwater sources. In 2002, celebrities including Kim Kardashian, Kevin Hart, and Sylvester Stallone were called out for blatantly flouting fines and notices of exceedance for their drought-era water usage.
And California is almost always in a state of drought as well.
So it's interesting you say that, because the past 2 years, California has gotten more rain than
ironically,
since the
right?
1920s. Yeah. So all of the reservoirs are filled. And so that means that because the water levels are high, a lot of places are approving construction so that more people can live.
That's just
there.
a mistake.
And then in the drought time, everyone's going to have less water ultimately.
I think I know the reservoirs are high, but and feel free to let me know if I'm wrong, and other people who are good in groundwater research and specific to topography and things like that, let me know. However, I've heard that one of the biggest problems for the United States, particularly in the Midwest, like California, Arizona, Nevada, etc., is not so much that they do or do not get rain. It's that when they do get rain, the ground is so compacted that in terms of groundwater, it doesn't absorb as much or can't hold as much because it can't seep through the compacted sand, dirt, clay that is on top of each other. So you have those reservoirs to try and collect the water, but realistically, there isn't any more. In order to gain additional water and people on the East Coast, you can bore deep enough and you end up finding water because the ground isn't as compact and you'll end up running into it.
Yes.
But not so much in the West, from what I hear. And that's one of the bigger problems is there isn't groundwater to utilize.
So on the East Coast, you have fresh water that is butted up against salt water. And if you can go deep enough and find fresh water, but sometimes if you use up a lot of fresh water, which is a big problem that we're having on the East Coast now, they're using up all the fresh water, which means that salt water from the ocean is getting into the groundwater. And that's no bueno. So,
and of course, landfills and the dumping of things infects the groundwater as well. It's like a whole thing.
But I think you're right, where we on the West Coast and like in
Mm-hmm.
places like Las Vegas who have
Mm-hmm.
like are basically desert for all
Yeah,
intents and purposes.
yeah, that's exactly right. Yeah.
They fully rely on the reservoirs
Mm-hmm.
because they don't have the ability to drill for groundwater in the same way that we do
Like
on the East Coast.
I forget if it was like Dirty Jobs or something else that I saw this on, but it was somewhere in the West where their reservoirs are so important that they were actually trying to find ways to cut down on evaporation of the reservoirs as well. And there was like this whole group that was coming out and experimenting with different ways to like prevent it from evaporating fast and things like that, or at all if they could, of course, because they can't just cover it up. It's not how it works. So
Yeah.
yeah.
I've never heard that before, but that sounds
Yeah.
like a reasonable
Mm-hmm.
thing to say.
Because it's so
No?
vital. Yeah.
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 So
Yep.
basically, it's just I don't like we're not a political podcast,
We are not.
obviously. And I don't think this is going to happen in the United States anytime soon. But it is just interesting to think about like the
Mm-hmm.
distribution of water and who's getting resources and who's not getting resources and
Mm-hmm.
like how people are using their resources versus like, because like I don't think it's fair that Kim Kardashian gets to have a
Her
pool.
infinity pool, like
Yeah. And then
300,000 gallons.
right. And then people that live
Yeah.
in lower income areas can't take a shower.
In
You know
the
what I
same
mean?
region, basically. Yeah, that's absurd.
Yeah. It's stupid.
Yeah.
I don't think that's reasonable.
Especially with a resource, at least in that area and in general, that is that stringent on
Yeah.
availability.
Not to say that the water crisis has gotten that out of control in California before.
Right. But there are ways.
Yeah, it could
to
happen,
mitigate it.
And we just want to prevent that from happening. So
Agreed.
anyway.
Yep.
So now I'm gonna let you guys absorb that. We're gonna take a little breaky break. And when we come back, we're going to talk about bathing suits, everyone's favorite summer topic.
Make sure you put on your sunscreen for when we come back.
Right.
Always cover up.
Welcome to the ad segment of this week's podcast. Normally, we have something witty to say that would segue you into the second half of the podcast, but not this time. For this ad break, we've created a random groove segment built exclusively for the vibes. Enjoy these calming tunes before you come re-immersed in all things mediocre content.
Wasn't that nice? Always good to set the mind at ease, if only for a few seconds. We hope you enjoyed this calm transition to the next half of the podcast. See you on the other side.
Hello, everyone. Welcome back.
Woo!
Welcome to our bathing suit portion of the swimming pool episode.
I'm very excited.
I'm very excited too.
I don't like wearing bathing suits because body issues, but I do enjoy looking at them.
Yes. Bathing suit shopping is the worst.
It is.
I will not be told otherwise. It is literally my least favorite thing to do.
Indeed. But I need new ones too, is the worst part.
I do too.
Like,
I do too. And we're
desperately.
moving to Hawaii and like
You know us. We're going to be surrounded by beaches.
I plan to live and go to the beach. So I need to find bathing suits that work for me. So maybe I'll find a bathing suit in this particular list. We'll see.
I always go to Cupshe. That's my go-to. Yeah. Anyway.
That's nice.
Beside our woes.
Shout out.
Not sponsored.
Okay. So swimwear is loosely defined as a category of garment often worn when participating in aquatic activities.
So fun.
Swimwear is expected to fulfill varying requirements. For competitive swimmers, a streamlined and tight-fitting garment, which reduces friction. And for recreational use, swimwear needs to be fashionable while also maintaining functionality. So, and protecting modesty, which I feel like
Yeah, right.
Depends on who you are.
I was gonna say, not in this
Depends on who
generation.
you are. All right, Grandma, take a seat.
I mean, look, I don't mind, but every video that I watch, we watch the, I say we, I have been shown videos because Tyler watches the videos of that Miami harbor that's like absolutely crazy, like the marina there. I forget what it's called. It's absolutely bonkers. Like there's so many accidents and crazy people down there. Anyway, every video there is a lovely Miami lady out there. I am so jealous of their confidence wearing a thong bikini out there on a sea-doo that's just bouncing to high heaven. Like, you are
Oh,
secure, okay? I would be so
wow.
nervous of just flying out of every orifice I own. Like, I just can't. I'm so
I
like, wow, where do you get that? Where can I find that? Because I have a wave and I'm just out, man. That's just it, you know?
I feel like that would kind of be uncomfortable,
Oh, okay. Now
to
I'm the
say the
grandma.
least.
Just
No, no,
yeah.
I mean like the logistics of having a thong
Mm-hmm.
on while you're doing a
Yeah.
sea-doo ride
Yeah.
would kind of hurt.
Yes.
Yeah,
How? But they look fantastic.
I'm sure.
They
Yeah.
look absolutely beautiful. I'm over here with a wedgie just thinking about it.
Yeah.
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 I'm jealous. I
All
will
right.
not be wearing a thong bikini for the summer
No
if
way.
anyone's worried about
No
it.
way.
Whoa. Ugh.
All right.
I don't want to
So
scar
we're going
people.
to start with the 18th century, which I think Kirsten will be very comfortable with.
Rude.
Um, in the 18th century, sea bathing became a popular recreational activity,
Sea
believe it
bathing.
or not.
Sea bathing.
Again, no indoor plumbing.
No.
It was believed that there were considerable health benefits to bathing in the sea, which is very true
Hmm.
because bathing is important. And this is also a point in history where everyone was like, because medical science wasn't what
It's
we know
true.
and love today.
It's true.
So, everyone thought that like bathing was like not necessary, but
Please
in
bathe.
reality, it helps you stay healthier.
Mm-hmm. Mm-hmm.
Um, to a certain point. I mean, obviously, you
Sure.
have to have like a certain amount of bacteria on your skin to like have a good microbiome, etc.
Yeah,
But
don't
that's
destroy your
we're
epidermal
not
layer.
talking about that right now. We're not
No.
talking about that right now. Okay. So, um it was encouraged for both women and men to do the sea bathing. However, immersing oneself completely was discouraged. This
Hmm.
was deemed particularly important for women as an activity in water was not seen as sufficiently feminine. For
Okay.
bathing, women would wear loose, open gowns that were similar to the chemise, like
Shmeez, I think.
chemise.
I think
I
it's
don't know.
shmeez. I don't know.
These bathing gowns were more comfortable to wear in the water, especially when compared to the more restrictive day
So
clothes.
they put them
And
in day clothes instead of day clothes to go swimming in salt water. Okay.
correct. Yeah. So, in this figure that Kirsten is the only one who can see, you will see a nightgown.
That's what
That
I
is
wear.
that is no
Let me go put on my
that is
muumuu to go swimming.
it is known as a bathing gown.
Whoa.
And it belonged to Martha Washington.
Marsha.
Um, yeah, and
Great.
it's cute. It's like not.
No,
It's like a muumuu, basically.
not cute. First of all, muumuus
Well,
are
it's not.
beautiful and lovely, decorated in colors and pattern. This is a gray
No,
monstrosity,
no. First of all, it's blue and white checked. Thank you very
which you
much.
can hardly see.
And it's linen, which
Mm.
I think is nice.
You ever gotten a rash from your jeans because your jeans got wet and you got to walk in those suckers?
It's from 1786, 1767, and I think for the time, it's probably very nice.
I'm gonna say if it's soaked in seawater, that thing is heavy.
I would say that too. I would
Especially since
agree.
it's
I
full
agree.
linen. Like, you are pulling yourself from the ocean at that point.
It's true.
But they said you're not just like supposed to submerge yourself, so maybe they're just
Yeah,
going like thigh deep. I don't know.
I would say. Yeah.
Yeah, I don't know.
Um,
Meh.
she herself did do some Martha Washington did some uh sea bathing in the mineral springs in Berkeley Springs, West Virginia,
Hmm.
apparently. in this outfit. So,
Oh, I love that they also tried to drown her and say that it was simply so the dress wouldn't float up as well.
wait, where does it say that?
I'm just kidding. It says small lead weights were sewn into the quarter of the hem so
Oh,
that it
so
wouldn't
it
float
wouldn't like
up. Yeah.
flash everyone. I was
Yeah, sure,
like,
sure. Yeah, no,
oh,
no. They just tried to drown her
I was
in
like,
her
wait a
own
minute.
garb.
She was Martha Washington,
Wait a minute, not Martha.
not Martha. All right. Let's move on to the 19th century. So, the popularity of recreational aquatic activities surpassed the desire to bathe for health benefits. So
That's
that's
cute.
nice. We've moved on.
Yeah.
Everyone's showering now.
Thank
Will
God.
the loose-fitting chemise gown.
It's like Mahon from the previous episode.
We cannot get it
We
together.
cannot.
Became increasingly fitted and more complex, replicating silhouettes of women's fashion. The
Mm-hmm.
number one priority for women who took part in water-based activities was to maintain their modesty.
Mm.
Again, ankles and shoulders too sexual
They were
in
not
this
wearing
time.
bikini thongs, is all I'm saying.
Not yet.
Not yet.
This was because the vigorous exercise in water was not considered ladylike. Women's swimwear had to reflect this notion of remaining proper as defined by contemporary society. Bathing outfits would consist of bathing dress, drawers, stockings, often made of wool or cotton. I know.
Do not get wool wet. Are you kidding?
These fabrics would become heavy when wet and were hardly suitable for any vigorous activity. In this case, it can be said that women's swimwear, which prohibited ease of movement in the water, reflected and maintained the social and physical constraints on women in the 19th century patriarchal society.
They just didn't want you to swim, nor have
Yeah,
fun doing it.
correct.
Correct. Rude.
The Victorian period, known for its strict moral values, women frequently used bathing machines, which, when getting in and out of the sea, bathing machines were little houses on wheels that would be drawn in and out of deeper water by horses. They provided women with a place to change in privacy before making their way directly into the sea.
So
it seems like a lot of work.
I was gonna say, it seems like a whole lot for just her to dunk her feet in, you know?
Right. Into the 1880s, women continued to wear bathing dresses as seen in figures 3 and 4, which you cannot see. I apologize. These garments had high necks, long sleeves, and knee-length skirts. Linen and wool fabrics were still used. Women often wore belts at the waist to replicate the popular silhouette of the time. Under the bathing dress, women would wear bloomer-like trousers to maintain their modesty. An alternative female swimwear garment popularized toward the end of the Victorian era was the princess suit. And these were one-piece garments that had a blouse and was attached to trousers.
Something we haven't mentioned yet. When you go to the sea, typically you're on a beach, and most beaches, particularly in the summer, are freaking hot. And you got these ladies from neck to ankle completely covered in wool and linens.
Correct.
You're never going to get the sand out. You're never going to get the salt out. You're never going to be able to dry that wool piece. It will never smell the same. And now you're sweating in it?
I'm not saying it smelled good. But nobody has said that it smelled good.
Oh, yikes.
Also, I would
upset.
like to say that, again, the patriarchy strikes and makes things uncomfortable and not fun
I'm
for
so
women.
upset. I am sweating. I'm sweating in a t-shirt right now. I cannot imagine.
Yeah, and so Kirsten, you can see this lovely picture.
I can.
I'll make it bigger for you.
It looks like they're freaking gonna go shopping. It doesn't look like they're going to the beach.
Right. So it's like a knee-length skirt dress with a belt in the middle and long sleeves and then bloomers underneath and then possibly shoes.
Yeah, she's wearing shoes. The only one in that picture not wearing shoes is a little baby girl, thank God, because she would have died from heat stroke by now.
Mm-hmm.
Good
Mm-hmm.
grief. She's wearing
Yep.
a long sleeve
And a hat.
and a hat. I mean, hats were pretty popular. I wear a hat to the beach. That's
Yeah.
fine. But
Yeah.
you are wearing a kerchief to the beach? Okay.
Yeah.
Okay.
So anyway,
Mm,
so 1900 to 1945, during the 20th century, women's swimwear underwent a significant transformation
we'll see.
as a result of the material advancements and increasingly liberal fashion trends. Now, in the early 19th century, swimming emerged as a competitive sport. However, its popularity was not solidified until its first appearance in the Olympic Games in 1896. Women were permitted to compete in swimming for the first time in 1912. And Annette Kellerman, a swimmer from Australia, can be credited for shifting social attitudes toward the acceptance of female participation in swimming and beginning the modernization of female swimwear. Claps for her. We love
Woo.
her. She was dubbed the Australian Mermaid because her swimming capabilities were so good.
That's
and
precious.
She was known for swimming the English Channel and famed for her performances in Hollywood movies. So this woman is the moment.
Love
She's
that.
Great. We love her. Okay. So she was invited to perform in front of the British royal family. However, her swimsuit was prohibited because it was tight fitting and revealed the lower half of her legs.
Heaven forbid.
Heaven forbid. She refused to compete in an inconvenient and ill-fitting garment which would meet their modesty standards, so she instead sewed black stockings to her swimsuit. And she encountered trouble again when she competed in Boston. Her swimsuit was deemed to be indecent exposure. But it was overruled in her favor as the judge agreed that heavy and ill-fitting swimsuits were impractical for swimming.
Go figure.
Somebody figured it out. This incident was widely publicized in the media, and while Kellerman's action could have had a liberating effect on female swimwear, it unfortunately led to a crackdown on female immodesty in some parts of the world, with police working to enforce strict clothing conduct and policies.
I'm sorry, from freaking ankles to shoulders, I can't.
Yeah. Yep. So in the 1910s, Jantzen, originally known as the Portland Knitting Company, was leading the producer of bathing suits. This was the sorry, your yawn was funny.
Sorry.
This was the start of technological advances in the material for swimwear. They produced what they referred to as woolen suits for rowing clubs and it became very popular. So Jantzen marketed it towards a wider audience. It was not until 1921 that Jantzen referred to the garment as a swimsuit. Speedo, the Australian clothing company, started to experiment with swimwear in 1914, for both sexes, and the all-in-one garments tended to have short sleeve or vest style tops with long legs. While social reform had begun, the commercial sector lagged behind. Therefore, both Jantzen and Speedo continued to market their all-in-ones as bathing suits throughout the 1910s. And we have a lovely picture.
She looks great. My favorite thing about things like Speedo and Kleenex is it becomes like a moniker for all things. Like, oh yeah, just go put on your Speedo. I love that so much. Even though there's obviously thousands of brands now.
It's so true.
She looks good. I just hate that she's being forced to wear freaking tights in the pool.
So, for those who can't see the picture, which is everyone except Kirsten, if you've ever seen the like legging onesies for working out, like it's that.
Yeah.
With
it looks
sleeves.
just like that.
Yeah.
It looks like she's wearing a freaking jumpsuit to swim.
Yeah, literally.
That's so dumb.
All right. So, following the First World War, women's swimwear began to differ across the continents. In America and Europe, women wore knitted swimwear which replaced the bathing suit. However, There were slight tweaks depending on where you lived. In America, women favored a practical and sporty look, while in European, women offered for sleeker swimsuits, which cut closely to the body. Another key difference between the two fashion trends was that women's swimsuit fashions were accessible to a very large middle class in America, whereas in Europe, there were clear class divisions on what women could and could not afford to buy for wearing to the beach. So, both sides of the Atlantic favored the practical one-piece Malo swimsuit, but in France, the costume's legs were shorter in length. The knitted rib work was much more finely woven, and the decoration was kept to a minimum.
It's
And
cute. Is that what
it
you
is
have
cute.
here?
That's
Yeah.
what this is.
I mean,
I
it's
believe.
okay.
Yeah.
Looks like boy shorts with a tank top to me.
Yeah, it's a
Yeah.
it's a grandma one piece,
Yeah,
I would say.
it is very plain.
Yeah.
As a very pale person, this would be invisible on me. It would look like I was naked.
Yeah.
This color.
Yeah.
That's a little too muted.
I'm sure it came in black as well, I feel like.
Probably, maybe,
Yeah.
yeah.
All right. So, also during this period, swimwear began to be featured in magazines. And fashion designers started creating swimwear. Chanel created a one-piece swimsuit woven from a bustle fabric. I don't know.
I don't know what that is.
Which could also be like a unisex, which was also like made for a unisex audience.
What is that? Sorry, I have to look up Busol.
Yeah.
Go ahead.
In the 1930s, gave way to the health and fitness movement, which favored fit and healthy female physiques. To maintain their figures, women were encouraged to participate in exercise, though only in ways that were deemed ladylike. And if you've ever watched like a period piece from the 30s and like women are doing exercises, it's the funniest thing you have ever seen. It's so good.
Okay, so it's derived from a French word meaning curled or ringed, and it can refer to a yarn made from a series of looped fiber or the fabric made from it. And it says wool is again the most common fiber. You can do it with
really be like in wool.
I know. It says it can be done with cotton, linen, and silk, but it doesn't specify. It looks like which one it was, but it could have been freaking wool again. Nobody wants to get wool wet, okay? If you don't know that, don't do that.
So my thought is that maybe wool mixed in like with a blend of something else might be good, because wool is like not waterproof, but it's like better than cotton, I guess.
Yeah.
And there weren't that many fabric options, you know what I mean?
Like the synthetics hadn't come out yet, yeah.
Right, the plastic.
Yeah, the plastic.
The shiny plastic, the soft plastic.
The spandex was on its way.
Right. We haven't hit that time period just yet. All right. So the boyish silhouettes were a thing of the past as women sought more shapely figures. The swimsuit in figure 9 that neither of us can see is a machine knit woolen garment from 1937. Wool was favored for its slight elasticated qualities. The swimsuit has thin straps allowing women to catch the sun on their shoulders, and there is a ribbed midriff panel which could have provided extra support and enhanced the female figure. The brief-like bottoms maintain the wearer's modesty.
Not the shoulders.
I know. All right, so 1945 to 1999 is where we really lose some fabric here. Okay.
Thank God.
So the game changer for swimwear was when latex yarn was invented in 1931. Typically, knitted swimsuits were made from wool, which would lose its shape when wet. The introduction of latex yarn into women's swimwear meant that the garments would hold their form in and out of the water. It would also often be combined with artificial fibers such as rayon, including the stretchy and shiny fabric. Swimsuits could now be produced in a much larger range of colors. Furthermore, at the end of the 1940s, Christian Dior launched his new look, which consisted of nipped in the waist and full skirts, accentuating the female form. This exciting design shifted to the trend to feminine and hourglass figures for women, including in swimwear. Um, yeah.
Yeah.
So I'm gonna skip a little bit to um the 50s, the rise of the industry and Hollywood glamour, which celebrated the female form in its entirety, had a big impact on the swimwear industry. In 1952, Brigitte Bardot starred in the French film uh Manina,
Hmm.
the girl in the bikini. uh at just 17, Bardot was one of the first women to sport a bikini on the big screen. Towards the end of the decade, in 1956, Bardot appeared bikini clad again in And God Created Women.
That makes
These
sense.
appearances brought the bikini into the mainstream media, thus beginning the garment's transition from outrageous and shocking to everyday. According to Vogue, by the mid 1950s, swimwear was seen as more as a state of dress, not undress, and illustrating how liberated fashion trends were gradually being accepted, even if society was not quite ready for the bikini.
Yeah, heaven forbid we're ready for fabric.
Honestly, I feel like
So
people really had a hard time with the bikini.
they take things too seriously. People
Yeah,
just want to swim, man.
I know. I know. All right. So, in terms of competitive swimming, Speedo first introduced the nylon into swimwear in 1956. For the Melbourne Olympics, Speedo created the well known male Speedo shorts or
My
jammers.
favorite.
They're also called jammers. Perhaps unsurprisingly, the technological advances in materiality were prioritized for the use in male competitive swimming before female competitive swimming. Not surprising.
How
However,
come the
yes.
men can go out gallivanting in a Speedo, but like the ankles were too much? It just drives
Oh,
me
because
crazy.
women are objects to be
Oh,
had.
right.
And you don't want a woman who's out there flaunting it for all the men. You want women who are out there uh saving it just for you.
Yeah, saving her ankles for marriage. Got it.
That's right.
This is not to say that if you're a more conservative being, I would tend to fall in that range, that it's not good. It
Right.
just means like if women wanted to, that's my problem.
We are pro woman, anti
Yes.
patriarchy on this show. Okay.
We're not a political channel, but
We're pro women.
let me
You can
wear
do
my
whatever you
Speedo.
please. We are anti men.
Let
That's what
her
we
wear
are.
the thong on the skidoo, okay?
That's
It's
right.
fine.
It's fine. If she thinks it's comfortable, it's fine.
It's fine. She will have a wedgie though. I'm so sorry, girl. Good luck.
Isn't that like inherent to a thong though?
Which is why I can't get on with it, you know? Be
I know.
picking that thing for days. It
If
never makes any
if,
progress.
if you I honestly, if you haven't figured it out already, we are not thong people.
And if you are, that's lovely. I've tried
Yeah.
so many different kinds and
I know.
sizes and ranges.
Same.
It's just itchy. Anyway,
I know.
seems like a
tried to
personal
keep-
problem.
In high school, it was like all the rage, and like
I couldn't.
I couldn't do
I
it.
couldn't. Also, like the jeans back then, I just felt like I didn't want that rubbing on my butt cheeks all day.
Tell me about it.
Get freaking like a rash.
Anyway, and that's girlhood, everyone. So, we've introduced the bikini into the lexicon
Yes,
in the
we have.
1950s. And in the 1970s, Speedo introduced elastane into their swimwear. And the elastane and nylon combination reduced drag in water and increased the durability of swimwear. So that's exciting.
That
and if you
is.
care about swimsuits for competitive at all, you will know that Speedo has some of the ones that last the longest because chlorine really do be breaking down your swimsuits.
It is a chemical. It'll break
Mhm.
down anything. Yep.
Yep. So anyway, I've been through many swimsuits I would wear because we thought it was cool at the time. We would wear like our one-piece swimsuit, right? And then our old one-piece swimsuits that were all like janky and like stretched out and like faded from the chlorine, we would wear over top of that to create more drag.
That's
And I had one
interesting.
that was absolutely disgusting and it had like a hole in it and it was not cute at all. But like I was like, I'm making more drag for myself. I am gonna be so fast.
Were you?
No,
It's like the light up shoes. It's all a myth.
it's literally it is. It was fine. Anyway, okay. So designers continue to experiment with swimwear throughout the second half of the 20th century. Blah blah blah. The first let's see. In 1964, the designer Rudy Ginrich launched his iconic monokini, the first topless garment. The one piece consisted of a slim fitting, high waisted bottom, which were held in place by thin halter neck straps.
Oof.
Ooh. Yeah. So anyway,
yeah,
towards
not our
the
best
end
idea.
of the 20th century, it was a man who thought of this, by the way. Towards the end of the 20th century, women's swimwear became increasingly bold and colorful, the reflection of fashion trends at the time. Bikinis and swimsuits were still the go-to swimwear, which now featured high-cut legs, strapless bandeau bikini tops, and even matching sarongs, which are like the little cover-up things.
Scandalous.
The television show Baywatch, which first aired in 1989, became known for its character's bright red high-cut swimsuit. The style of swimwear repopularized the one piece in a new shape. Which
That's
honestly, this is my favorite shape of a one piece. I think.
Yeah.
It's like higher cut. It makes my legs look really long. Very nice.
I mean, you have nice legs.
Thank you.
This makes sense to me. Yeah. Ugh, did you hear that throat noise? I'm so sorry.
No, I didn't, but okay.
It's like an internal burp. I apologize.
So the last section we have here is the 21st century. And basically there's no, like, the bikini is still there. We also have had a resurgence of like the high-waisted bottoms with like the bikini top, which I think is fun. I prefer those. I like those a lot.
Yep.
But so everything is like pretty much the same, right?
Yeah.
Like since the early 90s onwards, it's like all like pretty much the same stuff. But now in the 21st century, we're having a bigger boom in the technology for like competitive swimming sport wear. And so Speedo in 2008 launched the Laser Racer, which is a body length swimsuit. So again, for like competitive, you want to reduce as much drag as possible. So if you wear, like, that's why when you watch the Olympics, you see the men sometimes wear like full pants.
Yeah.
That are like contoured to their body.
Yeah.
And that is because as much as you don't want to think so, your skin creates drag. And so if you can put yourself in like a second skin, basically, then you don't have, you're like a dolphin. You don't have
so
any
cute.
drag at all.
Do a flip.
And these suits are like really hard to get into. For women, they're typically like high neck, and they have a lot of compression around your breast area and on your stomach area and in your thigh area. And the rule is you get it, you have to have two people to help you put it on. And that's how you know it's tight enough.
If there's a third person, it's too tight.
Right.
And if you can get into it with one, you need a smaller size.
Or by yourself, you need a smaller size.
Yeah.
Right. So, the body length swimsuits are made from elastane nylon and polyurethane. Again, fancy plastic.
Fancy.
These swimsuits were controversial as many felt the material being used gave an unfair advantage due to their hydrodynamic properties. Following their use in 2008 Beijing Olympics, where athletes who wore the laser or LZR model performed exceptionally well, the regulations for swimwear in the Olympics Games were revised. It was concluded that women's swimwear could only be shoulder to knee length. Since the 2000s, many female swimwear trends from the 20th century are being revisited. So we talked about like having the 1950s one pieces or high cut Baywatch swimwear. The small bikinis from the 90s are
my God,
something I will never be able to relate to.
The ones that were just attached to that string, and it was like there was nothing else holding the shape but God himself, probably. And even he was unable to assist in that moment.
I have never felt comfortable or been able to do that at all.
I literally tried so hard, and I don't know. I couldn't get it to happen.
Women's swimwear continues to be more than just a functional garment. It's also very fashionable. Something that is new in female swimwear in the 21st century is the swimwear brands being more inclusive for female sizing. We love.
Which makes sense. Yeah.
The pressure to look a certain way when poolside is slowly dwindling, which is also nice.
We're getting there. We're getting there. Yeah.
Whilst the 20th century sought to eradicate laws controlling women's modesty, perhaps the 21st century will be the era in which women's swimwear becomes inclusive for all.
That would be great.
Yay. Hearts and rainbows and unicorns.
Gorgeous. And dolphins, apparently.
Yes. So now we have taught you what to wear at the pool and where to go to have a pool.
Yes. Or go to the beach, I guess.
Or go to the beach.
Yeah.
Yes.
I know a lot of communities, like even our neighborhood community has a community pool as well. So it's maybe one of your housing communities, or even like past apartments we've lived in had a small pool and stuff like that. So
yeah. And if you don't have a pool, talk to your state legislator and be like, sir or madam, I would like a pool here. Please make it happen. Thank you.
And then you just wave and you're like, have a good day, and you just finger gun them and leave. I feel like that's the whole thing. You have to, because that's what gets them. That's what seals the deal.
Right.
Are the double finger guns.
Not real guns, finger guns.
Finger guns, yeah. Because you have to, like, it's like a haha, like, yeah, like, great idea. Anyway, we're going to give you guys the finger guns because we are headed out. So anyway, please let us know if you enjoyed this episode, have episode topic suggestions, or what kind of bathing suit you prefer. That would be interesting to get an email about, I guess. And you can send those to mediocrecontentpodcast@gmail.com if you want. You can also slide into our DMs over on Instagram and TikTok at the same handle. However, we have hiatused Twitch for now. We're both going through pretty big moves at the moment, and we just don't have the time and don't know when we'll have the time. So anyway, if you caught the last one, fantastic. All of our episodes that we've had in the past are on YouTube, so feel free to visit that if you want to see any from the past that aren't just our vocals in this case. Don't forget to rate us 5 stars wherever you listen to podcasts. We greatly appreciate it. And we'll see you guys next week.
This has been Mediocre Content.
Thanks so much for listening. Cheers.
Cheers.